warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello everyone, I'm Suci Pebriani from class 4C, and now I'd like to show you a storytelling, and the title is Rapunzel. Once upon a time, there was a couple who wished for a child, and they believed that the good Lord would fulfill their wish. Through their window, they could see into a splendid garden. The garden was surrounded by a high wall, and no one dared enter, because it belonged to a sorceress who possessed good power and was feared by everyone. One day, the woman saw a bed planted with the most beautiful Rapunzel, and it was her greatest desire to eat some of the Rapunzel. The desire increased day by day, and not knowing how to get any, she became ill. Her husband was frightened and asked her, "What ails you, dear wife?" Then she answered, "Oh, if I don't get some of the Rapunzel from the garden, I shall die." So, when it was getting dark, the man climbed over the high wall and took a handful of Rapunzel and gave it to his wife. It tasted so very good to her that she wanted it more and more. Thus, he went once again when it was getting dark. But after he climbed over the wall, he saw the sorceress standing there before him. "Can you dare?" she asked with an angry look. "To climb into my garden and like a thief to steal my Rapunzel. You will pay for this." "Oh," he answered, "I came to do this out of necessity. My wife saw your Rapunzel from our window, and such a longing came over her that she would die if she didn't get some to eat." The sorceress' anger abated somewhat, and she said, "If things are as you say, I will allow you to take as much Rapunzel as you want, but under one condition. You must give me your child. It will do well, and I will take care of it like a mother." In his fear, he agreed to everything. When the woman gave birth, the sorceress appeared, named the little girl Rapunzel, and took her away. Rapunzel became the most beautiful child under the sun. When Rapunzel was 12 years old, the sorceress locked her in a tower in the forest, which had neither a door nor a stairway, but only a tiny little window at the very top. Every time the sorceress wanted to enter, she stood below and called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Rapunzel had splendid long hair. When she heard the sorceress' voice, she untied her braids, let her hair fall 20 yards to the ground, and the sorceress climbed up it. A few years later, a king's son was riding through the forest. As he approached the tower, he heard a beautiful voice that he stopped to listen. That was Rapunzel, who was passing the time by singing with her sweet voice. The prince wanted to climb up to her, but he couldn't find a door. He returned to the forest every day and listened to it. And one time, as he standing behind a tree, he saw the sorceress and heard her say, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then Rapunzel let down her hair, and she climbed up them to it. And the next day, when it was getting dark, the prince went to the tower and called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." She let down her hair, and he climbed up. At first, Rapunzel was frightened when a man came into her. However, the prince began talking to her in a very friendly manner, telling her that his heart had been so touched by her singing, and he wanted to see her in person. Rapunzel lost her fear, and when he asked her to become his wife, she said yes, and she said, "I would go with you gladly, but I don't know how to get down. Every time you come, please bring a strand of silk from which I will weave a ladder, and When it is finished, I will climb down and you can take me away on your horse. They arranged that he would come to her every evening. The sorceress didn't notice what was happening until one day Rapunzel said to her, Frau Godel, tell me, why it is that you are more difficult to pull up than is the young prince who will be arriving for any moments now? Godless child, cried the sorceress, what am I hearing from you? I thought I had removed you from the whole world, but you have deceived me nonetheless. In her anger, she grabbed Rapunzel's hair and grasped a pair of scissors on her right hand and snip snap, cut it off. And she took her into a wilderness where she suffered greatly. On the evening of the same day, when the prince went to the tower and called out, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. Then the hair fell down. But above, instead of his beloved Rapunzel, he found the sorceress with poisonous and evil looks. Then the sorceress said, Aha! You came for your mistress, darling, but that beautiful bird is not sitting in her nest. You have lost her. Briefly and in his despair, the prince threw himself from the tower. He escaped with his life, but the thorns poked out his eyes. Blind, he wandered about the forest. After some years, finally he arrived into a wilderness where Rapunzel lived. And then Rapunzel recognized him and crying. Two of her tears fell into his eyes. And then they became clear once again, and he could see as well as before. He took her into the kingdom, and they live happily and satisfied. The end. Thank you for watching my storytelling. Thank you all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.